What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Movement Mindset powered by Station Athletics. I'm Chris Hardenberg here with Joe Passalacqua. And today, before we get into our topic, I would be remiss, we have to say that this is Brandon's last day podcasting with us.
Live,
which is super sad. He'll be maybe remote from the jungle of Panama. Actually, you didn't know I was going to do this. You have to come here.
I have to go out there?
Yes.
yeah. Put your headphones.
I
on.
did
He knew the whole time.
when you mentioned. So I'm bringing Brandon on camera.
Just so you guys know what he looks like.
This is Brandon. Brandon, introduce yourself to everyone.
You already introduced me. I'm Brandon.
How long have you been doing this?
For you guys, since
Yeah.
what, like March, April?
Tell us something that the fans don't know about you. I'll tell you something. Brandon was a professional skateboarder.
No, I wasn't professional.
Really?
No, I was sponsored, but not
He was
professional.
just really good
Professional
at
means you get
kickflips.
paid.
I
I never got paid to be
Well, that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. See you later.
I do have some other actually interesting stuff.
Oh, well, then come back.
No, now it's kind of awkward.
But this is fun. Podcasts make
Oh.
people laugh.
So,
The mic.
the mic.
Camera.
You're right. I got to talk in the mic. When I was, 19, 20, like my second job, I used to be a manager at a strip club.
That is amazing. You just went from here to here with me.
Yeah.
At 19?
Yeah, well, my dad owned it, so...
Even
it was
better.
It was kind of a family business,
Well, that's
Cool.
pretty amazing.
Well,
I guess, yeah.
that is.
I guess.
I'm glad to know that now.
So if this doesn't work out in Panama, then
They're big down
I'm gonna
there,
go back. Yeah.
Go back to the strip club.
Yep.
Can I come with you?
The family business. Well, so that's Brandon for everyone. Now, today's topic, not it's the smoothest transition, but it's fine.
Strippers, dude. Brandino for the win.
Joe's not going to be able
My
to
mind
focus.
is blown now.
Joe's not going to be able to focus the rest of the podcast.
The stripper business. How complicated could it be?
So this is actually a suggested topic from Ed Flannery. So shout out to Ed. He's like, you should talk about Goodhart's Law. So naturally I go, what is that?
And what is this? He
Yeah.
just thinks of the weirdest
Yeah.
shit.
So-
So, but it's not weird because he just like puts like a acronym on it,
Right.
And like thinks everyone knows.
Right.
Like, no, dude, you're just a nerd.
So he explained it to me. So basically, what it says is that when you set a goal, so we talk about goals a lot on the podcast, but he's like, if you set a goal and you only have one metric as a goal, it ceases to be a viable goal because you'll beg, borrow, steal, and cheat to get to that number, right? So to use, and we'll dive in deeper, but just use an example. If you have a client's goal who is to lose weight and you use that as the only metric to achieve the goal, then they could literally just stop eating to lose weight. But then what happens? Their biomarkers go down. We've seen people not eat the way they should and their body fat percentage actually goes up, right? Because they're not eating enough protein. And so it's like they're actually in a worse spot than they want to be because they didn't use multiple goals that kind of rub against each other to gauge actual progress. So we wanted to kind of touch on that. We thought it was a good idea to kind of go through like, okay, well, what from the business side, what do we set as goals? And then also how do we manage it from the clients and results side?
It's like how it translates over.
Yeah.
And how it translates over, it's like, okay, our number one goal in the gym is what?
Oh, our number one,
Not for the client. What's the number?
right. So for the business, the number one goal is to boost revenue.
Yeah, to boost revenue, right? And then everything trickles down, and everything trickles down to the client experience.
Right.
Because that's what the driving factor is to everything. If
For
the
sure.
clients have a good experience, they stay longer,
Mhm.
which equates to more dollars,
Mhm.
which equates to higher revenue.
Right.
Okay. So when you like break it down like that, it's like, okay, so if the end goal for us is the client experience, you need to break down every aspect of what they could be getting or could not be getting within the four doors.
For sure.
Okay. And then that either boosts or decreases the client experience, which then equates to all the other metrics that we look at. Okay. So that's why when we talk about business and we talk about this on a regular basis, is it doesn't matter what business it is, you need to truly break down the micro pieces of every single business for the macro result.
Right.
And that's really the way that when I look at like the Goodhart Law, that's really what it is. So if the end goal is one single thing, okay, yeah, it is the goal, but what are you doing on a multiple tier level to obtain that goal?
For example, for us, like we've said this to multiple employees, right? Our goal is to have 2,000 members by the end of 2026 and 20,000 by the end of 2034. Now, if those are the only number, like those are our goals, that's what we're shooting for. But there are things that go in conjunction with those things. And if that was our only goal, and to use Ed used this as an example as well, if the goal is only to boost revenue, what would a business owner end up doing? They would, you end up discounting memberships, giving away too many things for free, making up things. And next thing you know, you have this balloon membership. I got 200 members in this gym. You feel like you're cool because you can say that, but then you can't pay your employees.
Yeah, dude, you know how many of my friends that own gyms? They're like, oh, I got 200 members. I was like, but like, then they cry that they're broke.
Right. And
Like,
they can't
yeah.
pay the rent.
Yeah, because you're not doing it properly. Just because your doors are filled doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right client acquisition for you.
Right.
Right. It's like, okay, we just talked about there's a local gym in New Jersey where we just have somebody who started working for us who literally told us that exact thing. The gym is packed, but the owners are broke.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things where it's like, that's why. So just so you guys are aware, and we'll get to kind of the client results side of things, but when we look at the business, right, obviously membership growth is one of the numbers, but then we also look at attrition, because unfortunately we went through it years ago, right, where we had a couple sales guys that were selling memberships their first couple months through the
I
roof.
was literally just thinking this.
Yes,
Yeah.
like stupid numbers. And then 3-4 months later, our attrition was the highest it had ever been.
It was over 10%.
Yes, it was literally people walking in and then marching out the other side, because the goal for those guys was simply
Get the
sales.
paperwork signed.
Exactly. Instead of delivering a quality experience and
Because
keeping the people.
It's because they didn't take the time to understand what the actual,
Right.
like what is it that we do here?
Right.
It wasn't just here, oh, well, you're going to get all these things. Like we didn't even know, like that kid Anthony didn't even know what the program was.
Right.
He didn't even know what the equipment was.
Right.
Right. And that was our fault.
100% our fault.
Right. Because, he sold himself and, I'm
Well,
not saying that we fell for it, but the fact of the matter is it's just that like he brought nothing to the business that was beyond what he already knew. And he came from like an LA Fitness or some shit like that, right? One of the big box gyms where those are revolving door gyms.
Yeah, and we've talked about it, like from a business standpoint, they just make up for it on the fact that they can spend millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, right? So that's why we look at, okay, you have members in, but then we also look at attrition, members out, and that's why we want it to be at about
The members
5%.
out part is more important than the members in part.
Absolutely.
And people don't understand that. People are like, oh, what do you mean? How is that? It's like, this is what Courtney will listen to this. And I tell her this every single month. I go, your goal is to grow 3 or 4% every single month. And how you do that is let's make it really simple. If you have 100 members and you're growing at 4%, that means that you're plus 4 every single month.
Right.
But the easiest way to do that is to have virtually no one leave on a monthly basis, because 4 memberships is really easy to sell.
Right.
You know what's hard to sell? 15 a month.
Right.
Right? 20 a month. And we've been on that side too, to where attrition was low at 5%, but like to break even, you had to sell 12, 15 memberships just to break even. It's very, very difficult to counterbalance that. And this is why the gym business is tough. And the micro perspective is that we talked about this in our franchising episode of why it's a bad business to be in, because these places don't give enough power and support to create why the member should stay more than 60 days.
Right.
Okay. And that's been our whole purpose over the last 2-3 years of recreating the entire program, has been that. Okay. So let's back shuffle a little bit. So when you talk about, I always say client experience constantly. Okay. So the reason why, okay, I'm a huge advocate of completing one single goal, but the way I look at it is when I get this done, this enhances the next thing that I can do.
Yeah.
Okay. You know me better than anybody in the business. Is like, I get really fucking pissed off when I'm waiting for somebody or something so I can move on to my next thing.
Right.
Right. And it drives me insane. Okay. Because it's not letting me drive the business forward, because my end goal is X, but it's all the little steps that lead into that. And this goes in anything that you do. Is like, even if there's work, if you're an accountant, it's the same exact thing. You can't get the return done until you have all this information.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't matter if you run a restaurant, if your cups don't show up, you can't deliver the coffee. Right. It all goes back to that. So all businesses aside, so the disagreements, I guess, with Goodhart Law is, yeah, the end goal is X for every, like there's one goal when it comes across the board.
Right.
And whether it's delivering good service, whether it's making more money, like anything in that direction, learning something new, but you have to understand all the baby steps that it takes to actually have a good product or sale.
Yeah, that's actually a great, now that you phrase it that way, that's a great way to look at it for us, because again, we say that our big goal is 2,000 members by 2026, 20,000 by 2034, and that's what we're shooting for. But then we have along the way of like, okay, that's what we're going for, but don't break these rules. Don't have attrition that's above 5%, right? We have an average membership across our gyms that are in a certain window, right? And so it's like, we're striving towards that, and our employees know this is where we're going towards. But as we go towards that, you can't break this rule, this rule, and this rule. And it's like, if you do those things, then you have a client experience where it's like, our client lifespan is 1.3 to 1.5 years.
How can you lose when you have a life expectancy of that?
Exactly.
Right? You can lose really, really easy. It's like, I don't know if you ever know this metric about restaurants. It takes like, for someone to come back to a restaurant, it's like 1 in 5. If
Okay.
they come and try it once, it's very unlikely that they'll come back and eat there again.
Okay.
So that's why it's so important that their experience the first time is like beyond perfect,
Yeah.
because there's a high probability that they're not going to come back.
Okay.
Right. So it's like, you got to think of it like that. So the end goal, right, in the restaurant business is, I want this person to come back and have dinner here again.
And because if you do that, probably you have them for a long
You
time.
could have a smudge on a fork,
Yeah.
and that person isn't going to fucking come back. That's why like the little details are so important in business. It's not like, we're in the gym business, it's not rocket science, but so many people fail doing it because they don't think of it like that.
Yeah.
They think of it as, I'm going to have all this beautiful, nice equipment, and I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to add, this program to it. I'm going to affiliate with this shit, and I'm going to do this. It's like, we don't do any of that.
Right.
We just believe in our program being better because it delivers all of these little things that someone can never rebuttal and say that they didn't get something from our program.
Right. And that's where, again, we have industry standards. So it's like, we talked about it, the little things, even to the effect of like you said, I'm affiliated with this, or we have this class, and it's like, that's great. But like, when someone walks into the gym, is there someone to talk to them within 20 seconds of them being in the gym?
Yeah. Immediately.
Oh no. Well, maybe that's why they turn around and walk out.
Well, it's like we talked about this too. Like when I first started, is like, I literally got my start in the gym is because I just answered the telephone.
Yeah.
I literally just answered the phone,
Which is wild.
and I called people back within an hour. Like that blew my mind. But that's what happens in
Yeah.
this business. It's like, they just think that like, okay, it's a fun place for you. Okay, great. But it's like, people are still paying for a service.
Right.
So you have to deliver them a high level service. And this is why you see certain gyms that have been around for 10, 15 years, and they're still doing it. And some have been around for 10, 15 years, like holding on by a fucking string.
Sure. Yeah. And so that's where it's like, okay, we're striving to this membership goal, but then we have the attrition, we have the client lifetime, and then we have the client lifetime value, where it's like, okay, if you have your average membership value in place and you have your length of membership in place, then I know, hey, every member who walks through the door is, whatever it is, $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 plus. And if we're above industry average, then I know, as we strive to 2,000 members, our revenue is going to be in a place where we can support the infrastructure to deliver that high quality client experience.
Because it's very easy for us to replicate things now.
Yeah.
Because we know what our end goal is, and we have all the tiny little steps set up. And I would do this if I opened a restaurant, I've opened a strip club with Brandon.
What a partnership that would be.
Oh boy. But I'm just saying is like, in general, it doesn't matter what the business is, right? It makes no difference because the end goal is the end goal, but you have to deliver everything individually on a small, tiny little component.
Yeah. You should call your strip club Panamanian Mommies, something like that. That's what
Why does
popped
that
in my
be
head.
that?
I don't know.
Why is that being Panama fair?
That's where he's living. So that's what things look like for us from the business side. Now, from the client side, we kind of touched on this with the BMI episode, where it's like, it's not all about the weight. And this is something that I think is super important, because I don't know how many times people have come into our program who have maybe done a different weight loss program, whether it's like, with the Max Challenge or with Weight Watchers, and it is all about weight.
Well, that's the only driving factor is how do you lose as much weight as possible. So it doesn't matter if you don't eat anything.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if you take Ozempic. It doesn't matter, right? Like it's just, did my number go down from last week? And that's what all those programs originally, Fit Body Bootcamp, they were all designed around that because there was no back end support to like educate. Because we talk about like when we have a client come in, I want them to leave, even if they don't join, that they learned something about nutrition.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's all that really matters, is because I want to continuously educate them to where like maybe they don't need our help on that anymore. But we're going to now teach you this. It's nutrition and health school. It's just like 101.
It's
That's
really
all
what it is.
It's basically that's pretty much what we offer.
Yeah.
We offer an educational program that is around fitness, but it's really understanding that your end goal is, okay, great. You want to lose weight? Great. But guess what? I'm going to teach you why you may not want only to just lose weight. And maybe you want to actually look like and have some muscle tone. And this is how you do it. And this is how you have to understand it based on all these metrics. Okay. That's why we typically do better than all these other big franchises and the micro gyms.
Yeah,
That kind of like that are competition.
Yeah. And even the effect of like, and I'll circle back to what you said, but even I just kind of thought about like how many offices are like, we're doing a weight loss challenge and like, who's going to win like
Tons.
this gift card or whatever.
And
And it's like,
when I was in corporate, and I would
Yes.
laugh because it's just like, all right, well, that person's going to win because it's not going to eat for 3 days.
well, that's what happened. Actually, one of my buddies I used to wrestle with, he did one, he's very competitive. And so like they did one at his job and he just was like, I'm just eating less. And it's like, okay, well, that's great. But what does that lead to afterwards? Or how many people do that?
He wins an iPad and he's happy.
Right.
Right. Like but that's what I'm saying is like, okay, I understand the premise of the office or the company offering something like that, health, but you didn't teach them shit.
Right.
You cause anorexia.
And most of those people go back.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think what you said, which is like a super good point, is most people who want to lose weight come in and they say they want to lose weight, right?
Almost, I'd say more than 80% of the people that walk through our doors say that they're here because they want to lose weight.
Right.
And not for nothing, a lot of our advertising is around that.
Right. And my thing, what I was going to say is like, if you showed them a picture and it's like, okay, when you say you want to lose weight, do you mean you want to look like this? They'd be like, yeah, that's what I want to look like. And they don't realize that like, okay, to get to that aesthetic is not just losing weight,
Yeah.
right? Like, yes, you need to lose the body fat, but to have that toned look you want, you actually have to build muscle too. And like, those can be two conflicting things in a way, depending on how overweight you are. And so it's like, you have to have the conversation of like, okay, hey, we're going to go about this the right way. And it might be a tad slower by having you eat enough to build some muscle mass, but you're going to drop from, instead of dropping from 180 to 150, you might drop from 180 to 160, but your body fat percentage is going down to an appropriate level and your muscle mass is building. So now you look the way
You're
you
going to
want.
look the way you want to look.
Right.
So let's kind of end with this. So Goodhart Law,
Mhm.
right? Conceptually makes sense.
Right.
End goal.
Right.
Right. Because everyone has an end goal. Doesn't matter what company it is. Okay. But in order to provide that end goal to the end user or the business owner, however you want to look at it in your job, whatever it is, how you teach and raise your kids, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's all the little tiny things that make you aware and drive everything to that end goal.
Yeah.
So for us, let's just end this with the business side. Again, all it is taking our client experience as the end goal, but the 100 things that are required from getting that person to walk through the door to having a great experience, from the salesperson to liking the coaches and the staff, having a support system, having someone like making sure that they're coming in, making sure they're weighing in, to make sure that they understand how important it is in order to hit the end goal.
Right.
Right.
So that's a good thing to end on, guys. Right. Along with this, if you're setting goals, whether it is for business or for fitness, make sure you have little things along the way that keep you in check so you're not cutting corners to get to that goal. Guys, as always, like and subscribe to us on YouTube and Instagram. Give us a follow. We'll see you at the next one. Peace.
Peace.